Toyota's GR Yaris and GR Corolla have become a benchmark performance car, and it's been really well received by the aftermarket, and there's lots of performance parts coming out for these platforms. We're here with Ben from ARTEC to talk about a brand new product that they're developing, which is a bolt-on turbo kit for the GR platform. So for a start, this is quite a unique platform. Why has it become so popular for modification?
Well, I actually bought one the first month they were available in Australia, and I think once you drive one, you just know there's something special about it. And the engineering side of things from the engine is what really excited me, and I thought this platform is going to go a long way. And I always felt they were going to use the engine in more chassis. Toyota normally doesn't develop an engine for one chassis. They really pump them out as hard as they can.
So that engine, exactly the same between the Yaris and the Corolla platform?
Yeah, they're the same, and then they might have a slightly different tune just for about give or take a couple of horsepower.
On face value, it doesn't seem like maybe the best platform for a performance car. Small capacity, 3-cylinder turbocharged engine with obviously direct injection. But time and time again, we've seen these engines, even in almost untouched internal form, punching out huge numbers. So why is this engine so good?
Again, when we're looking at the engine itself, it's incredibly light. That's the first thing. So the performance advantage of that to a chassis is huge. Some of the features that really, tickled my fancy was the offset crank. So even when it's firing at top dead center, it's not trying to push the crank out of the motor. So there's the head design is unlike anything else I've ever seen before. The inlet design itself is radical. So it's very compact. That's probably the biggest thing. So when we got a hold of ours, we wanted to develop products and invest the time and money into building products that not sort of the short term easy, but the long term, because we wanted to build products for the next 5, 10, 15 years of its life cycle. So yeah, we decided to build a bolt-on turbo system to allow you to run international emissions control. So we wanted to run the OEM emissions control systems.
Okay, so with a conventional turbo kit, maybe a fabricated manifold and just any off-the-shelf turbo, how does that eliminate the ability to run these emissions devices?
Well, traditionally with an aftermarket turbo kit, you can't run the OEM downpipe. And legally in many countries, if you don't run the OEM downpipe, you're not allowed to run it.
And this is about getting the catalytic converter as close as possible to the turbocharger so that it will light off quickly on cold start?
Yes. The Yaris actually blows the exhaust straight out the wastegate on startup to try and heat it up as quick as possible. And another thing with emissions control, if all your OEM sensors and accessories can't work with the turbocharger, you're pretty much going to have fault codes and problems with the OEM ECU.
Okay, so your kit is going to basically make this package completely emissions compliant, provided obviously the tuning is also up to emissions standards. So this is obviously becoming increasingly important in countries, as you mentioned, all around the world. In terms of the difficulties that this presented to you in designing these parts, talk us through that.
Okay, so we wanted to design something that feels like stock but allows you to give more power. We've been running our development turbo in the Yellow Express GR Yaris for over around 18 months now, and it's been amazing. And that's running 400 horsepower on the hub dyno with a totally stock air intake system, airbox. That runs a Motec because that was available at the time.
Just in comparison, what would a stock one lay down on a mainline hub dyno?
I think they're about, so that's 300 kilowatts it makes. I think it's about 175 kilowatts.
So you're a little under double the stock power.
Yeah, it's an absolute beast of a car.
So complexities here, other than the exhaust manifold, is that you cannot utilize the stock housings on an aftermarket performance turbocharger. So you had to design all this yourself.
Yeah, so everything's bespoke with it. So we've started completely from scratch. So the wastegate design is different from OEM. The turbine ARs, that's something, the AR is really important with how the car drives, that drivability and the feel. And that's something that we're not publicizing because that's our IP. We don't want to say, oh, it's so-and-so AR. So we're actually going to have 3 turbine housing options available, depending on the application and fuel, as well as 2 compressor cover options based on, again, the use of the car and the computer and how far you're going with it.
In terms of the core, you're obviously not manufacturing an entire turbocharger yourself. That would be a touch too far. So what is the core that you've adopted and what options are there? And what I'm getting at here is like what power ranges can this kit support?
Yeah, so we're running with Garrett rotating assemblies. They're CHRA, so they're bearing, housing, compressor and turbine. So we've been running with the G25 550. And our larger version will run the 660, but that's where you can't get compressor covers and turbine housings off the shelf designed for the Yaris, the 3-cylinder 1.6 liter. So that's where, you know, we've been developing this for 18 months. There's a huge amount of R&D in optimizing the AR and the compressor cover for the boost levels and the actual exhaust flow. So yeah, it's a lot of it.
So at this stage, is this kit available for public consumption? And if not, how far off is it from launching?
So we've got a bunch of key development partners around the world that will be getting their first production-ready units. They'll be getting them next month. So late September, they'll be getting their first ones.
Could you give us some indication? Obviously, that you've talked about there's a range of different turbo cores. Obviously, that'll affect pricing, but you can give us an indication at least of what the retail pricing is likely to come out at?
I think it's about 3,300, 3,400 US.
And that's going to be significantly cheaper, though, than custom fabricating all of these parts onto the engine.
Yeah, actually, I think it's 3,800, but I haven't, that's still not there yet. But yeah, in terms of a bolt-on, it actually, because there's so many components it comes with a new Turbo Smart ARTEC blow-off valve. It comes with all the actuator, all the manifold. So we've split the manifold from the turbine housing to allow those ease of turbine housing swaps later on. So in terms of actual cost for the customer, it's actually a lot cheaper to just bolt that on and get to where you want to go.
Oh, perfect. Thanks for your time. They've been great products, really innovative, and we look forward to seeing more GR Yarises and Corollas going even faster with this turbo kit.
No worries. Thanks very much, guys.
If you like that video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and if you're not already a subscriber, make sure you're subscribed. We release a new video every week. And if you like free stuff, we've got a great deal for you. Click the link in the description to claim your free spot to our next live lesson.